Hey guys, welcome to my quick getting started guide with tips from my personal experiences within Return to Moria. Don't forget to drop me a like and sub to help this new channel bloom from a little bud. Cheers! First off, when you enter the Dark of Moria, there's enough in the tutorial to get you to grips with the basics, but I really would recommend picking literally everything up off the floor. All of the cloth scraps, wood scraps and metal fragments. Grab these right away and all the time as they're useful throughout the entirety of the game, which is really nice game design. It sucks when materials become irrelevant later. Wood scraps are used for building, especially quick building platforms. They're always useful for getting around and can even save your life. For example, if you're falling and quickly slap a platform under your feet before you hit a cavern floor. Cloth scraps are also used in building, but they can be converted into better cloth later, which can be used for some of the best armor in the game. So definitely grab these and just store them in chests at your base. Maybe keep some on hand at all times if you plan on making beds or for placeholders in your inventory. And the last of these are the metal fragments, which are used to repair your gear. I ended up with over 1,000 of these in my storage and they're useful forever because you will always need to repair your weapons, tools and armor. You will then be introduced to Arik the bird and he will explain what to do and where to go, but he does fly away leaving you alone again. What I recommend instead is looking at the guidebook. It gives so much information and lore, a really handy tool with tons of information in it. Eventually you will come across an abandoned outpost, and I would recommend making a nice base here, even fixing it up with walls and a door, because you will randomly be raided by enemies and having multiple structures up slows them down massively. Sometimes enemies even focus your structures more than you, so build some chests and pallets for extra storage and make sure to fix up that mapstone. Mapstones are probably the most handy thing in the entire game. They allow you to fast travel between them, so you should be placing them by important places, such as the huge forges you will encounter, or just by great materials. Sometimes you will find a destroyed one that you can repair for a small amount of materials, but you can just make your own as long as you're in range of a hearth. You will need black diamonds for this though, and those are dropped from higher level orcs and also looted from chests, so you must unlock with an orcish key. I'll get onto those later when we reach our first goblin or orc camps. Inside this first outpost will be a locked chest as well. You can craft the key at the forge once you have the materials for it. There's a few of these chests at outposts and they contain some decent materials, but nothing super important. A little further from this first camp you should discover an interesting looking chest that can be opened with carvings. These carvings can be found randomly around the same area / biome as the chest. Sometimes the spawning can be a bit iffy, but I would recommend looking for them in buildings and generally off the main path. These chests are very important as they contain recipes for rare gear. Whilst exploring Moria, you will come across destroyed statues of dwarves. You absolutely must repair these in each area because they give you recipes for armor and weapons. Some are even needed to progress with the story. When you have all the recipes, you will know because repairing statues will start rewarding you with stone and ore instead of recipes. The statues are repaired by owning a strong enough hammer and also by using the type of stone that is native to the area. This is why you need to keep every material that you find. Before we move on to the next early game area, I want to hand out some advice about torches. Opening up your building menu, you can see two types of torches, the wall torch and the standing torch. As I'm making this video, the wall torches seem to give off a lot more light than standing ones, and your buildings never despawn, so I recommend using them as often as you need. And you should even use them to mark areas that you've been to. Speaking of marking out areas, when you access your map, you can mark the spot you're standing on using different emblems. You can even name these emblems, so they're extremely useful for marking things such as rare ore, dangerous areas, or places that you will come back to later. And before progressing, I would recommend mining all the coal that you see here as well. Coal is needed to make hearths so that you can make bases anywhere, so I'd always carry at least 15 pieces of coal on you. Moving forward, you will come across the next area within the Western Halls. This is the Elven Quarter, an important area throughout your playthrough as it contains a lot of unique resources. And also the Elven Quarter is the only area that has precious ingredients for lembas bread, which is an amazing food that fully heals you and fully restores your energy. Things to look out for here are all the vegetables and fruit you can gather, the deer you can hunt for hide and meat, bear dens that you should be wary of, but bears will reward you with more hide than deers, and also the many goblin man camps, which I'll talk about soon. You will also come across a huge forge in this area. I recommend building a mapstone at the forge if you ever need to come back to craft the Elegion set, and also just so you can get to the Elven Quarter faster. Make sure you mine as much as you can here for your steel pickaxe, which you need for the final starting area, the Mines of Moria. Before that though, I just want to give some advice in regards to the goblin camps that you will come across. Once you defeat all of the enemies in the camp, if you destroy the totem or flag looking thing in the middle, they will stop spawning from then on, forever. And an orcish key will also drop to the ground. You can pick the key up and immediately use it on the chest in the camp for all sorts of goodies, especially the important black diamonds. Whilst you harvest everything you need in this area, I recommend making a small camp here too. There are many buildings around the edge of this zone that make good bases, and they have forges and furnaces there for you to repair already, so you will save some materials. If you do make many temporary bases in your playthrough, just remember that if you destroy things you've built yourself, you will get back all of your materials. It's very useful, especially if enemies destroy your base. One more thing before we head off to the mines of Moria, you should be able to find bird nests in the Elven Quarter, atop cliffs overlooking the water. You can get eggs from these nests, and most importantly, feathers. The nests are fairly rare, so getting feathers early is a big help, because they're needed for high level arrows and bolts later on. The loot in nests will respawn over time, so keep track of them or mark them on your map. Moving on now to the mines of Moria, which will be your first main challenge. Mine your way through the compact dirt and then make your way safely downwards until you reach one of Barlin's company's outposts. I recommend making this into your first proper base, so don't be scared to spend a lot of resources reinforcing this base and building loads of storages. You'll be building your smithy here to repair, places to cook proper food and make healing snacks for the journey, and way more. Now let's talk about the important stuff. In this final area of the Western Halls, you can find many new crafting materials. You will find copper and tin, which can be used throughout the game, mainly at this point for making bronze, but there are also materials here that can't be mined yet, so make sure to mark all these out on your map. There's gold, adamant and precious gems, to name a few. Enemy-wise, you will encounter a few new beasts. You will have your first experience with flying enemies, giant moths that have terrible AI but can be annoying to take down, and also bats which die in one hit. You should loot both of these mobs though, especially the bats. Bats drop bat droppings, which can be used to make farms later on. The goblins and orcs are also stronger in this area. Each time you progress through the story, the goblins become orcs, then the orcs become armoured, then the orcs become uruks, etc, etc. And lastly, you will come across cave trolls here. They aren't too much of a problem to run away from, but they will sometimes block access to areas if you don't kill them. They only become relatively easy to kill once you have higher level gear, so avoid them for now. In this area, you will notice for the first time lots of shadowy smog coming from vents in the ground. This smog cannot be dealt with at this moment, and you should just build platforms above them so that you can still journey onward. This is a theme throughout the story, just build lots of platforms of roads for yourself, also making sure you can return to base safely. If you do stay in the shadow for too long, you will get a debuff that will eventually kill you. Your objective in this area is to defeat a boss, which I won't spoil, and also to collect enough black diamonds so you can progress to the next main area. You should have enough black diamonds after the boss here and looting every orcish chest you find, but if not, I would recommend destroying any map stones you don't need anymore and taking back the black diamonds you used to craft them. Black diamonds can also rarely drop from orcs too, so if you don't destroy their camps, you can essentially farm orcs for loot. Before taking on the boss here, make sure you also build a rune table. You can apply different runes to weapons using gems, and the most useful rune in this area is the one that gives you extra damage against orcs and glows blue like Sting when orcs are nearby. I think that's all the basics covered to help you survive the first chapter of Return to Moria, but before I go, I just want to go over some farming tips to help you guys. My farm was actually in the Mines of Moria area for my playthrough because there are crystals on the ceiling here that create patches of light that help you grow vegetables. You can only make farming patches later, but I thought I'd let you know. Vegetables need light to grow, and you only have to plant them and leave them a few days. A maximum of 4 vegetables will grow in each plot. If you need to grow any type of mushroom, mushrooms don't need light to grow, so you can grow them a lot easier. All of this tasty food is needed to make better meals and snacks, which are especially useful the further you get into the game. Anyway, thanks so much for sticking around. I did say it would be a quick one because I'm super busy on the NC Project channel. I hope I could help anyone with these tips. It's my first attempt at any sort of guide or getting started video, so I hope I did a decent job. Have a good one, guys.